Hi, my name is Oyindamola SHOOLA. I am the author of Face Me, I Face You. That sounds like something that Shade would eat or Bimpe would eat after saying that they want to take their Fit Farm journey seriously. But it tastes nice. So I've tried it once. I won't do it again, but it tastes nice. Am I protecting you or are you protecting me? And I say that because, funny enough, one thing that I'm yet to see someone point out from the book is Folake as a cat. And of course, people will get cats for protection, but the cat is somewhat a participant in a judgment of Delilah. So, yes, I believe animals have a fair sense of judgment, they just can't talk. But in the case of dogs, at least for Nigerian dogs, when people get dogs for protection, my brain is thinking, who is protecting who between the both of you? uh, Either Mama Okwe's Abula, like the steam from Mama Okwe's Abula and Amala, or Iya Basira, one of the two. I think both of them should have a cooking competition, so we'll know whose one is better. But that's what I think of Amala and Abula, the steam that rises from a well cooked one. See, it depends on who cooks it. If Basira cooks jollof rice, you would not need stew on it. But if Folake cooks jollof rice, you need beyond stew. You need like Maggi, salt, and any other thing that you can find to help your palate. So it depends on who cooks it. mm, Fela Kuti, of course. Who else? My favorite song is Trouble Sleepy and Wake which is of course referenced in the book. But Fela Kuti. Burna Boy, I think, is of course walking in the footsteps of Fela Kuti, and even I mean Davido. Some of the elements of his songs would reference the OGs of the space, but we all know that Fela started it. So who else? Okay, I'm a nerd. I'm actually a real life nerd. I like to read books. I like to read stuff. I studied psychology for my associate's degree, organizational behavior and change for my bachelor's degree, and then creative writing for my master's degree. I love Amalan Abula. If you want to kidnap me, choose that or choose books. I will follow you easily. I Oh, I'm very sarcastic in real life and very playful in real life. I try to not get into trouble with my sarcasm, and recently or lately, I've had to choose answers inside my head. So when someone asks me a question, I have two answers inside my head: the one that leads to violence or the one that allows peace to just reign. So it depends on the situation, what you hear me say, but there is always two answers in my head to anything that I'm being asked. Those would be the interesting things people need to know about me. Oh, the polite answer, of course. I got a lot of inspiration from my mother, humor and sarcasm, the way she approaches life with it, and in her interactions with us as children, especially becoming much older and understanding how she raised us. And I will also say, of course, Tatafo Ofofo, as an introvert and as a writer, I have the privilege of paying special attention to things. I may not be the person that talks in the room or anything, or I may be the fly on the wall in a corridor, but best believe I am listening. And one of the things I realized in the process of writing Face Me, I Face You is that when you listen, when you do the barest minimum in just listening, a lot of things come by your way, even the things that you don't ask for. And the third thing is, I wanted a book that captured our humanity, especially as Nigerians and as Africans. Oftentimes, when you pick a so called book about Nigeria or Africa, it's often about the hardcore topics, the problems, and all that stuff, which is nice to capture. And I think it's part of what needs to be recorded of our history. But I also think so many books, especially poetry, miss the elements that really humanizes us in our daily experiences. And I wanted a collection of poems that could capture that and encourage people to open their eyes to the seemingly mundane experiences that they are having in their daily lives and find some form of joy and humor in it. I bet you wouldn't look at your neighbors the same way after reading the book, or or hear something that someone says and think of it the same way after reading the book. My writing style is definitely playful, simple. This collection had a lot of humor and sarcasm to it. My writing style also changes per season and depending on the project or book that I am working on. So, for example, my first six, seven books, they were a little bit more emotionally provoking and more emotionally depth compared to Face Me, I Face You, that is much light-hearted. And I think this is the season of life that I am in. One of the beautiful things about being a writer or an author is that your pieces kind of speak to the phase of life that you're in. So I think my writing for this phase is very light-hearted pieces that capture simple experiences with a lot of humor, joy, and sarcasm in it. The central themes of the book, for me as the author, I think it changes to the reader. The perspective changes if it's a reader reading it. The central themes of the book for me would be relationships, love, and money, of course. And my favorite poem of the book would be Breakfast. There are tons that I really love, and even the last poem, Breaking Up with the Moon. Breakfast is my favorite because it captures two relationships simultaneously, the relationship of Folake with her mother and a relationship with her lover. And growing up, as an African child, sometimes your parents won't blatantly say, I'm sorry if they offend you, for example, but even if they don't say that, they would ask you, try this dress, tell me if it fits you, or what do you want to eat? They will ask you like 10 times, have you eaten? Try this drink, take this snacks. They will offer you so many things. And you may not have won the argument at that point, but you know definitely that you won their heart. And so that translates into the relationship that Folake has with Aloba in terms of how she shows appreciation or even tells him that she loves him. She is unable to verbally, occasionally say that I love you. And if he says I love you, she would be the type of person that will say thank you. But one in that poem, she explains it to him that I may not be the type of person that says I love you, but if I ask you 1,000 times, have you eaten? Just tell me you love me because that's what I'm trying to communicate with you. It's a very unique poem in the sense that it speaks a common experience that a lot of kids or even African kids can relate to. And then the second poem that I would choose is Breaking Up with the Moon. That poem I wrote in a very difficult phase of my life, and it was a perfect poem to end the book. It captures all the things that we worry about as young adults and how we lost the innocence of just staring at the moon at night and wondering if it's following us home. So I think it was one of the hardest poem I had to write and edit, but it was perfect for the book and it ended the book well. Um, it's not even how it influences it. It leads it leads the book. As a Nigerian, I'm very proud of my culture. There is no way there is no way I try to present myself that my Nigerianness would not come out, even if it's in my accent or the way I talk or the jokes I tell or my facial expression. The Nigerianness will just come out, and I think that's rooted in my culture. Regardless of where I am or where I go in life, my culture follows me. Um, I adapted the cultural aspects in terms of food, party, clothes, wedding, big life ceremonies when I mention them in the book, because I think it's such a beautiful and unique thing. I have had the privilege of engaging with so many non-Nigerians, and when they talk about the things they know of Nigeria, sometimes I think it's of a very limited perspective or lens. And I wanted this book to be a good example to just show them that we're a lot of things. We're a lot of things, and our culture is very beautiful. The part of our culture that intrigues me the most is the wedding ceremonies, which I captured in Love Doesn't Cost a Dime, where I talked about how a man that loves you has to pay a lot of money and buy a lot of things to prove his love during the wedding ceremony. So it's just a very beautiful and interesting culture that's I think was central to this book, and this book wouldn't have thrived without the mention of references to the Nigerian culture. Oh yes, many. Before this book was published, so I worked on this book for about 4 years. I used to post poems on Instagram, and those poems are still on my Instagram page. They're not poems that eventually made it to the book. A few of them did, but the interaction with the readers, the comments. There is one particular follower that I have actually named Bimpe. I don't know her in real life. I've never met her, but she was a consistent reader of my works, and she would come back, and everybody would interact with Bimpe as if she's the actual Bimpe, and she engaged and played into it, and that kind of helped my realization in knowing that I could play into the stereotypes of names and characters. And I've explained this before to some of my friends and readers that if I mention Shino, for example, or if I mention Fola or a certain name, you will know certain characters that surround them. Shade, you will know certain characters that surround them. Or even Bingpe in this sense. Bingpe reminds me of Asha song, Bingpe Bamiwi. And that song captures a lot of things that I wouldn't even need to say in the book to introduce the character. So I played a lot into that based on the engagements that I had the privilege of having before publishing the book. The engagements that I had from readers every Saturday, because I used to post on Saturdays only, the engagements that I had with readers on Saturdays really motivated me a lot, and it kept me going even when I thought the book was not something that I was interested in pushing forward. And then the second interaction that I will highlight, 3 days after the book launched, there was a group chat that I was in where they were arguing about the difference between Yansh versus Yansh. So the spelling of one starts with N and the spelling of the other starts with Y. And we're trying to analyze the difference and why some people spell it without the N or not. That argument went on for about 3 days, and it was very funny and very hilarious. I was just saying to them that, God, this is not how I want to be famous. The discussion about Yash versus Yash, that's not why I wrote the book, but it was nice to see. And funny enough, when I was editing the book, that was one debate that I was going back and forth inside my head, that how do I spell certain words that I know more depending on the culture or the person who is saying it. So yes, that's a memorable thing that I'll keep forever and ever. I think take your time. Um, One of the things that I did differently with Face Me, I Face You was that I took my time. The previous books that I had written and published, I wrote them maybe within a year or two and then just wanted to get it out, boom, boom, boom. With Face Me, I Face You, the time of editing it actually aligned with my pursuit of an MFA in creative writing at American University. So I had the privilege of spending a year plus working with thesis advisors who intensely reviewed and analyzed each poem in the book lines and gave me recommended books that I should read to learn different things I could incorporate, or different skills I could own to make the book better. So I do not regret taken 4 years to write this book, and even from this experience, I know the next book that I would write, it will take a little bit longer. I know the value of time in creating something that you want to be a masterpiece, and you want to be memorable for a long time. And I also say this just as a young writer as well. There is, because of social media and because we see a lot of people accomplishing a lot of things, there is often the mental pressure, if it's even if it's not something that we personally acknowledge, there is often the mental pressure that I need to constantly be accomplishing something. And when you understand the seasons of your life, you will know that it's okay to not constantly be in the face of accomplishment. If it's okay if the phase you're currently in is just seeding, planting, watering, and constantly improving your work or improving yourself. So my recommendation to writers would be understand your seasons and take your time. Time is not going anywhere, and the project will be a success when you put much more effort in it with all the resources that you could get while you're taking your time. Get a copy of Face Me, I Face You today. You can get an ebook through SHOOLA or a print copy through Amazon, Roving Heights Bookstore, Space Up Bookstore in Ibadan, and so many other bookstores that will be announced on my website. So I hope you read a copy of this book, and don't borrow your friend's copy. Leave their copy with them. Go and get yours.